They called you a criminal because you refused to get an experimental untested vaccine.
We're basically giving our health sovereignty over to the UN.
Almost everybody here today on this stage, and probably many of you in the crowd, has been targeted and punished for telling the truth.
Most of us are here because we were censored or something like that already happened to us.
Today I'm at Rescue the Republic in Washington with independent journalist James Lee, asking rallygoers why they think the Republic needs rescuing.
I was a bus operator, and when I refused the mandates, I was terminated.
Freedom on all fronts, political, speech, medical.
Can I ask who you're voting for?
Trump?
Why?
Well, because he's not a fascist.
Why would I not move to Tulsa, Oklahoma to save my kid?
This is a constitutional republic. Most people don't know what the hell it is.
The Democrats just started calling me a Klan member and calling me the party of hate.
We are rescuing the republic from communism. When Donald J. Trump becomes president, every single political prisoner will be pardoned and freed on day one.
We started this country to destroy this whole feudal Europe empire system.
What are you guys doing here?
Well, we're from Canada, and we're here to support our brothers and sisters of the States, as well as to support these great speakers, and these people have come forward.
Okay, who are you most excited to see speak?
Anybody who supports Trump and is going to help Trump do what needs to be done.
And if we don't secure that now, it's over. This is being destroyed at the very highest levels. They're using the Democratic Party to do that, and some of the Republicans, and you will never have freedom again. Trump is the only antidote to that, who is not going along with this United Nations bullshit, the one world order bullshit.
Only 3% of Americans fought the British Minutemen. So there's only about a certain percent of conservatives here. So if I don't come, who's going to come?
I came here just to feel some peace, like Tulsi just said. You know, feel peace about what's going on and get excited about this election.
Why are you here specifically?
I've been against the mandates from the beginning also. Even before there were mandates, I knew they were going to do it. I wrote a book called Breaking the Autism Code, and I was saying they were going to have mandates. I just didn't know what disease or what vaccine or how it was going to happen. But I wrote a couple of times about how they messed it up. They tried it with Ebola, they tried it with H1N1, and they messed up. So I just figured they'd mess it up again, and I was just going to wait for it to be over.
Well, we saw the absolute damage that those mandates caused, and they were on the verge of them talking about doing it again. But this time now, the WHO treaties, that's coming into play now, where we're basically giving our health sovereignty over to the UN.
They're still trying to enforce mask mandates in various places in Canada.
What does it mean to make mitochondria great again?
By making mitochondria great again, which really means getting back out into nature more, into full spectrum sunlight, not blocking it at every turn, not irradiating ourselves with non-native EMFs constantly, which interrupt mitochondrial function, that we can then begin to reverse our chronic disease burden and begin to live healthy, sovereign lives. And so we need to actually shift our focus onto the mitochondrial genome and supporting mitochondria if we actually want to create health. But it's not as lucrative, let's say, because the actual implementations to support your mitochondria are basically free.
I'm a stem cell researcher, and stem cell therapies for Americans has been stifled by the FDA. The current administration, they don't approve a lot of these therapies because they want to label stem cells as a drug, which it isn't. It's a biologic. So if it's not approved drug, insurance doesn't cover it. So patients have to pay out of pocket. If you got a bone-on-bone knee and you don't want a knee replacement, we can inject stem cells to grow the cartilage back, which is natural, non-invasive. But because of the advent of Big Pharma with their lobbying, they don't want a natural alternative that cures things because they can't sell their drugs, as much. So that's the bottom line.
Never miss another sunrise. Okay. When you're outside, get your bare feet on the earth, on grass. Don't wear sunscreen, don't wear your contact glasses. Get natural full spectrum sunlight in your eyes and on your skin.
So don't wear sunscreen.
No. No, sunscreen's the worst thing you can do. It's blocking UV light. UV light is an essential nutrient for our bodies. And I actually like to say the push towards energy efficiency and technology is creating an energy crisis in the human body, because in energy efficient lighting, like all of our LED fluorescent bulbs, our screen devices, they're all enriched in blue light with no UV and infrared light, and it's basically hijacking our dopamine systems and making us docile and compliant. And so the more we can build a solar callus, as Dr. Jack Kruse says, the more we can gradually increase our midday sun exposure over time, and just leverage the sun for these benefits while we're also grounding, getting our bare feet on the earth, the less we'll burn and the more benefits we're going to receive from the sun. This isn't about politics, this is about human health, and I don't think that should be politicized. I think it's being politicized as a way to discredit us and the movement.
I had a child that had a lot of issues, like mental issues, and once I changed her diet, once I got her off of the processed foods, once I got her onto whole foods, her mentality changed, and she's a happy kid. And I was like, wow, mom should not have to do all this research. Like, you should be able to go to the grocery store and buy food and trust that your kids are gonna be fine. So I think food is one of the biggest issues we have in this country right now.
I would tend to agree with you. Where do you guys stand on COVID?
On COVID? Well, myself, here's the big thing. This is what I'll say about COVID. Show me it in a petri dish, for starters. Yeah. That's the first thing. We don't have it in a petri dish. There is absolute evidence that it came from the Wuhan lab. They were doing some sort of genetic research in it. It shows you how corrupt our governments are, that no one, on either side of the border, is willing to put together a real judicial review of COVID itself.
I run a nonprofit that trains domestic violence victims, elders, and single mothers. We get them their concealed carry permits if they can't afford the training.
A Guns for All program, a socialized guns program. You're like Bernie for guns.
But privately funded.
Okay.
Because the government shouldn't be involved in it, right?
Okay.
So, women don't choose to own guns because it's their shall not be infringed right. It really has to do with the fact that we need them to protect ourselves from being raped or beaten. Right? They are a self-defense tool for us.
What are your feelings on guns in schools?
School faculty, if they choose to be, should be able to be armed. That being said, that should come with the responsibility of a proper training curriculum and program that is an ongoing training, right? Because it's a perishable skill, firearm training. There has never been a mass shooting at a school with armed faculty. Not that I know of. 94% of all mass shootings happen in gun-free zones because they're soft targets. FBI, local, state law enforcement, they all knew that all these school shooters were in their radar. They had some sort of warning that these people, in some capacity, were either unstable, had made threats, something to that effect. In short, the classic, they were on our radar. They knew. They knew that that these shooters were threats and did nothing about it. They knew. Uvalde, they knew. The government is going to keep killing your children until they take your guns. So stop letting them control you and start taking back your rights, your fundamental human rights, all of them, but especially your right of self-defense, which we in America are blessed to have guaranteed protected to us in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. No other country in the world has that. We are blessed to have that, and there's a reason they don't want you to have them. Just like division, if you can't fight back, you're easier to control.
I was voting for Trump since the beginning, because when you go to the rallies, there was blacks for Trump and Hispanics for Trump, and everything they said was BS. So I was in for the long haul.
So there's a unity there.
There was a unity from the beginning. You just didn't see it.
I believe in freedom. I don't believe in restrictions. I believe that he's the president of the people. He's going to make decisions by himself, and he's not going to away from his policies and his beliefs. You know, he believes in fiscal responsibility. He wants to get us us out of these stupid wars that we're in. He wants to protect our border and stop these illegal criminals from coming into our country and raping and stealing from us. Can you guys hear me? And I'm going to be honest with you, he's a pro-life candidate for me. So.
This is so important. Forget about all this Democrat-Republican stuff. You're either for the people and or you're for empire. You have to have a government, and its only legitimacy is to uphold the general welfare of the people, not the banks, not the corporations, but the people themselves. And that's what we got to get back to. And Trump's probably the only thing we have left. He took us out of the Paris climate agreement. He wants to seal the border. He wants to go back to manufacturing. He wants to do the American system. And if he's got enough good patriots, real patriots, that don't try to stab him in the back like they did the last administration he was in, then we may make it. Is there enough people that's going to be in his administration to be able to do that? Because he's going to have a lot of traitors that come along with him as well.
When you say he was stabbed in the back 4 years ago,
well, you name it. Pompeo, John Bolton. I mean, every time he tried to do something, McMaster, these guys did the opposite. Another example was his vice president, Pence. You know, what the hell is this guy? He's a freak.
I totally agree. He looks like he only drinks milk.
And screws children.
I haven't heard that. Could you elaborate on that?
No.
No,
but he's a pedophile. I know that. But there's a lot of.
How do we? I haven't heard that.
But that's not the primary issue. The issue is, are we going to get our republic back?
We're seeing governments, especially in Canada, that have absolutely no respect for our Charter of Rights, which is very similar to the U.S. Constitution, U.S. Bill of Rights as well. You see an agenda that's very anti-free speech, anti-freedoms. Donald Trump would be the first step in the States to establish that, and that's the first step in regaining our freedoms back.
We're mama bears, and we've got children that we're trying to protect and save, and so we'll do everything we can to help our kids.
What are you protecting them from?
Indoctrination, let's start with that one. You know, people trying to get our kids at such a young age and teach them things that just aren't true. They're just not true.
The gender ideology, that's being pushed in my kids' schools, the gender ideology portion of it. They're allowing boys and girls bathrooms, boys and girls locker rooms, reading nasty pornography that's in school libraries. We're just protecting them from their youth. Let kids be kids.
For me, it's more like basic economics.
I'm not inviting Trump to my Sunday dinner. You know, like I am voting for all of his cabinet, for all the Supreme Court justices, all of that. However, I'm not a huge fan of Trump. I'm not going to be wearing MAGA hats and stuff.
I have issues with Trump. But I have deep issues with Trump. But
what are your issues with Trump? Not hot enough.
The CARES Act.
The CARES Act.
The CARES Act is my biggest issue with Trump. 2020, how he handled 2020, how he refuses to say, you know what, I screwed up. Shouldn't have shut down the country. Certainly shouldn't have passed the CARES Act. It was rife with crime, corruption. The CARES Act, I shouldn't have given a blank checks to teachers to keep schools closed. $180 billion went to teachers' unions because schools were closed. And they kept saying, we need more money to open schools. Well, there's no strings attached. Trump did that. Trump started all the inflation right now with the CARES Act. And so that's I know what I'll end up doing on Election Day, but I just can't. I still have this issue with 2020.
Yeah, and I do too. But I also know who the alternative is. And that's like the Harris Waltz ticket is the most anti-parent ticket in history. And as moms, to me, that's what I'm fighting for. You know, I mean, I want parental rights. I want to know what my kids are reading in schools. I want to know that my kids are going to go to school and be safe. And Waltz and Harris, they'll say, hey, if you don't affirm your child's gender, they're going to be taken out of your house. I mean, it happens in California, it's in Minnesota. They could pass bills that my children would be taken from our home and put in foster care if we don't affirm their mental illness with saying, hey, I'm a girl, you know, and they're not.
I have a sister who lives in California. She lives a walk from the beach. She is moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and is ecstatic. She is thrilled. Leaving Monterey, a block from the beach, because she's so afraid of what's going to happen to her son. He's like, one day he decides he's a girl, he's out of my life forever. I lose him.
And if I have your permission, I would like to end in a short prayer on this holy and auspicious day. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus Christ, I call upon your name on this occasion.
Where would you place religion in all of this?
Because of a lot of the voices that I've heard over the last few years, I've come to have a much deeper appreciation for how Judeo-Christian values informed the founding principles of this country, and I did not realize how much they had to do with our evolving freedoms over the years, the abolition movement and all of that stuff.
Because of how driven I am to stand against everything that's happening right now, like so much of it is religious, and it's really like opened my eyes to religion in general. You know, we're a religious country, and a huge amount of the reason that we're having such problems right now is because religion has been removed from society.
Renaissance is upon us. There's nothing you can do about it. Disable the dislikes, disable the comments.
So then, are you supporting a particular candidate for president this year?
I say you have to just trust God.
Okay.
Because God is in control.
Okay.
You have to trust in the divine, because it is not these men, it's not these humans on earth who dictate what's going to happen to the future of the world.
Well, people who follow the mainstream media, it's funny, they're woke, but they need to be awake to what's the truth. Our country's founded on principles of the Bible. It's truth. And we need to get back to the Constitution and biblical principles to focus on the family.
Many people shared their... You don't have to laugh. You just have to shut up and get out of our way.